Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're back in our committee of the whole agenda, and we are at the regional moment from the district of Squamish. You have 5 minutes.
5?
3.
That's
Yeah, so I'm trying to be quick
You
here.
have 10, but he only gets 5.
okay, as long as I get 10.
And I'm gonna need Director Stoner's help on this. But something we're quite proud of in Squamish, and I think it ties in really well with the Truth and Reconciliation in Practice, a guide for working in a good way that we approved yesterday. We signed a memorandum of understanding with the Squamish Nation, and that was signed, I think, July 23rd. So yeah, really exciting and something we're quite proud of. Maybe next slide, please. And so, and I forgot to edit the one date, but here's a bit of the history of some of the work we did on the path to this and that the Squamish Nation was also doing. So a few things I want to call out and a bit of a personal reflection. I think the Squamish branding for me was an interesting thing. At the time, I was not very far on my journey in terms of reconciliation or understanding what it was about. And I saw the community focus on outdoor adventure. We were trying to figure out what we were. And then there was an idea of a logo with what you see there, Squamish Nation design. And at the time, I sort of thought didn't really fit a lot of the discussion. Going back, I'm glad that the committee that was doing the branding pushed through and kept that, because I think for me anyways, that became a really central piece of thinking about Squamish Nation and what the partnership meant and the relationship to our community. And so I think it ended up being a really good way to start our community focus on it. So both of our councils, Squamish Nation and District of Squamish, our strategic plans focused on a number of things that fed into this. And in 2023, we and City of North Van and City of Vancouver signed a protocol agreement, which maybe we'll go to the next slide. And you can see here, essentially spoke about how we would work together. And one of the goals of the protocol agreement was to sign the MOU that we ended up signing. But I think you can go back to this, but the principles of engagement here, it's different words, but really a lot of the same ideas that are in our guide. And I think in my notes, just for me anyways, it's there's a whole piece around reconciliation, but just a whole lot of good learning, I think, about how to be better in general as people and how to be collaborative as a society. I think there's a lot of really good thoughts that Squamish Nation shared in terms of this protocol agreement. Director Stoner, I don't know if you want to add. Okay. Okay. So maybe we can go on to the next slide. So this details some of the more specific things in the MOU, a number of the practical things. When I mentioned it here before, I think there was some thought, because we have committed to creating a land back task force. And I think there was some discussion about, is this going to be too provocative, or what will the reaction be? So we actually spent a lot of time preparing and thinking about this and being ready. And when we rolled out the plan to the community, this hasn't seemed to be a concern at all for people. So people just seem to understand that this is what we're doing, where we want to be. And so I'm glad we were prepared, but I think the community support for what is in the MOU, I would characterize it as people just sort of say, well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's obvious that you're doing this. Why wouldn't you be doing this? So yeah, that's been really good to see. I guess, can we go to the next one? I can't remember what's on the next slide, actually. Okay, so here again is a few of the commitments we've made in the MOU. We're now into meeting at least twice a year, and this is where we get into capacity on both our sides. We're all so busy finding a way to make this work is challenging. It was really important to both of our councils that we get this done before the Squamish Nation election, which they just had. And so there was a real push on both sides, and an election year, we wanted to set everyone off on a good foot, and Squamish Nation Council has gone from 7 to 16 members, so they are seeing a lot of change. It was a return to 16 members for them, so it'll be really interesting to see how we hopefully carry on with this. Yeah, I think that's it. I'll just sort of wrap up. I added an Easter egg slide. Simply one more, and we'll see if it works. It may have to be the link, but so just to give a bit of context, you see us in a canoe and a trailer. We had an idea to arrive by canoe to the signing ceremony, but it was a super windy day and deemed not safe. So instead, we left the canoe on the trailer and had an RCMP escort. So we rode up in the trailer in the canoe. And there's it is really inappropriate. A canoe is not a BOAT. And if you call it as such, you are expected to go swimming to learn a lesson. And in the discussion, a couple of us made a mistake in how we referred to this. And so if this will play, you'll maybe see a couple of us learning our lesson.
Oh, please play.
You might have to click on the actual link there. If it'll work.
Simple, young.
If not, I'll just have to.
Describe part of it, it's fun.
Yeah, so anyways, this is just basically our mayor talking about the little swim, and I had to do it as well. Didn't have to, but the reason I included this is because I think this can be anxiety inducing for those of us where, this can be a new topic. But at the signing ceremony, it was really a day of celebration and laughter and, people having fun and joking around. And it's not always going to be like that. Sometimes it's going to be tough. But I think just the one part of us showing a willingness to adopt and adapt to some Squamish Nation traditions and to be vulnerable and to laugh. And I think it's a really important piece to show to the community that this doesn't have to be hard work. It will be at times, but just having that sort of happiness and joy, which is part of this too, and really showing that it's important. So it's been a really great thing so far.
Great,
Well done.
thank you. Questions? Awesome. All right, thank you. Here we go.
Where do we go next? We're going to go, there is no closed, so we go to 6.1, stay over voting.
Hi, everyone. Heather Paul, PAO at Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. In October and next month is November, so Director Belsham, Corporate Officer, wanted to say a few words of the upcoming November election.
Thank you, Angela Belsham, Director of Legislative and Corporate Services. So just a friendly reminder that as per section 215 of the Local Government Act and the SLRD's procedure bylaw number 1499, at the first regular meeting of the board after November 1st, the board must elect a chair and vice chair. The procedure bylaw states that an election by secret ballot must be conducted. And in order for us to truly do a secret ballot, if everyone's in person, it's really easy as we drop the secret ballot in the hat in which to do the counts. However, if we have a hybrid meeting, a secret ballot is a little bit different in that we have to do it by electric or electronic poll. So just a friendly reminder for everyone to bring their laptops, because if we have even one member that's attending remotely, in order to do a truly secret ballot, it would have to be hosted like via electronic means.
But that is on the 19th.
That would be on the Wednesday, and I will confirm that date for you. It is November 19th. Yeah.
We moved away from the fourth week because of December,
And yeah,
which I still think is a good idea. Of the December. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anything else for your chairs or for your CAO, Bert?
That is it, thank you.
Okay. Motion to receive. Moved by Jack, second by Vivian, all in favor, any opposed, motion carries. 6.2 strategic plan progress report, and we have Ms. Westerholm here. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Mr. Westerholm, Director of Communications and Engagement for the SLRD. And I'm here today to answer any questions as well with our CAO head of all in regard to the Q3 strategic plan progress report that is in your package. And also just to note that the information report includes a recommendation to change the reporting frequency for next year to move away from quarterly reports to reporting twice a year if the board is amenable to that consideration.
Okay, any questions? But
Perhaps more of a statement than a question, but I'll try to frame it as a question.
it's okay.
It's very helpful and I appreciate the reporting. It was also an eye opener that I feel like our efforts to try and focus our organization are not going very well because of the number of list of tactics or projects that are on this list. So I guess maybe my question, perhaps best to the CAO, is this still a manageable list of projects? There are very many of them that are in progress. And I sometimes feel like when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So just a temperature check, given this long list of projects.
Thanks for that. For some of them, there's a hurry up and wait happening, so it's a bit of a juggle where you're waiting for one thing, so you're working on a different project. So not all of these projects can be, you know, if I came in and I worked every day for 10 days, the project would be done. There's a lot of waiting, so they puzzle together for some of them well on a work plan. And then we do have open conversations if they're overloading the work plan. I think that the introduction of the templates that will be coming in likely December will help the board and staff focus on, are we focusing on what is our strategic priorities? Because there will be a strategic priority lens on every report, which will then help make better decisions when it comes to this. I think the nature of the beast when it comes to work is that sometimes you do overload, and I will raise the flag when it becomes a concern. And I think probably this board is quite used to me sometimes saying this is taking staff capacity away, and staff aren't sitting around waiting for something to do. There's always something in the line, but I'm committed to being open about that at every given meeting. I will note that there are items that are on this, that are not on this list, that have been in the fuel for many years.
Yeah.
And I would like to, although they're not on the current work plan, I would like to take some time, which is one of the reasons why we're going to half a year instead of quarterly. Take the time to surface that. So this is a bit of a, what's our backlog? Have a backlog page. And also the other focus that we'd like to do is for each of these projects, can we have a project page or at least a description of it that's linked to the website and publicly available? So that when you read development film permit process, what is that? And you can just click on it and get there. So this is two of the reasons why we like to put it down to twice a year.
Okay, I have a question from Director Demare, and then I'll conclude.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm just curious on, I guess, a very similar topic here, just talking about on the priority of things, is why the Area BC Hydro Trust is delayed. We did get a new policy analyst, and part of that position was to tackle that initiative.
Thank you, Director Demare. I can answer that. It's delayed because of the front load of work that Regional Transit was required for the onboarding of the new analyst. A significant amount of work has been done with the lead into UBCM and the traction of interest from the province. So that delayed it occurring in early fall to likely at the end of this year or early next year.
Okay, hey, I've got one comment or ask is that I've supplied a contact with Urban Designs to be able to get all the files digitally. And that is not a very long job to do. It's basically one email. So, that would get that little project started. Thank you.
Have we allocated budget to do that digitization?
We've allocated, there's budget allocated for staff time for it. But not, which I would assume be the it just depends on what the file, what state the files are in. I'm assuming if they're, they're already digitized. It really is a competition of priorities. And Regional Transit is,
Yeah. Director Demare, are you suggesting that the staff time that's been allocated to start the process with urban systems? Because as I recall, the documents that you refer to are all paper. Am I right about that?
The ones that I've got here are all paper. And at Silga last year, I actually sat with the person that worked on it, and they've got them digitally.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah, so I gave that contact to staff.
I see. Okay. Okay. We'll take that away. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Director Birch Jones?
Yeah, I have a number of small questions. Can I just go through them on, okay? There's no page numbers on the report, but page 58 of the 78 in our package, Squamish Valley Agricultural Plan Service Establishment. I thought, are we putting the cart before the horse? We're talking about a Area D Squamish Agricultural Advisory Committee. Maybe that thought, I mean, can that be, in brackets considered somewhere in there simultaneously, or should we change the order of that? I'll just leave that question.
Director Needham also is here to further answer this. I can say that this project is well underway, working in tandem with the District of Squamish, and would likely be managed outside of that request, and that request would be a separate request.
So this
There
is
could be consideration.
to establish a tax service, is that right? Okay. So that's similar to what we did in Area B in Lillooet, and then it's in place, so. All right. Page 60. Skip that one. Some of these, because I have an appointment to talk with the CAO, I can ask some of the questions that just pertain to Area B. I don't have to hold the whole board. The climate action, I was really disappointed just to see the red dot there. It's just the last, just not the time to be stalled. And I wonder, does this fall under the new policy analysis position, or, I mean, I know I've been told this is shared between all staff, right? It's everybody's responsibility. I'm a little bit worried that that's not the most effective way to share that file. Of course, it's everybody's responsibility, but I don't like seeing that red dot there.
Do you mean the regional growth strategy, climate action prioritization and implementation
Exactly.
strategies?
Yeah.
But
I would ask that Director Needham come to speak to this, but we'll address one of your questions. I believe in 2023, the climate action coordinator was removed from
Yes.
this organization, and that climate action was moved into planning and development, recognizing that it would be onto existing workloads and would have to be prioritized that way. And when it comes to specifically why this is delayed, I could ask Director Needham to come up to the front and discuss that.
Thank you through the chair. That's something that Ms. Dewar is working on as part of RGS implementation, and we're looking at doing that work in 2026.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Page 64, that was the question. Page 65. Oh, yeah, we've already covered that. Page 7. Oh, yeah, it was a bit, and there's a red dot there on page 67, grants, funding, efficiency updates. Transparent and low barrier workflow experience for nonprofit societies and charities seeking various funding to support. I think we have a pretty transparent and low barrier workflow experience for nonprofit societies, at least as far as my working experience with EAD goes. So there's a red dot there anyway, but I didn't quite get what using different funding levels to determine report. I didn't quite understand what the goal was there.
Hi, thank you. That's specific to recommendations when it comes to governance excellence that have been made in the past. And also preference by the finance department in discussions with themselves and amongst auditors. And it's specifically looking at the model that we have with PVIS, and I can't remember what it's called, PDIF, the Pemberton District Initiative Fund.
Right.
And there's some very good protocols in there that are still accessible, but have transparency on and consistency on how funds are applied for, which builds trust and stronger efficiencies within the finance department and a lot less burn.
Okay. I also saw a reference on page 67. Facility zoning bylaw consolidation project. And the project will see all zoning bylaws consolidated. I think that our areas are quite different, and that's the reason why some of the bylaws are different in the different areas. And I think that's a good thing, and that's just the nature of this regional district, that it is that way. So I'm not sure that we want to consolidate them all.
Director Neal, would you like to explain that part?
Yeah, sure. So for example, most, like if you look at a municipality, District of Squamish, Resort Municipality of Whistler, City of Vancouver, they all have areas that are different, for sure, right? But they put the bylaws and regulations under one bylaw. And so this project would basically take all of the various bylaws and put them under one bylaw because it causes a lot of administrative costs and confusion for both staff, the board, and the public, because we have 4 bylaws.
Yep.
All of them need to get updated. And so if we do a global change, we have to advertise and update 4 bylaws. So that's advertising times 4, and various changes, various public hearings. So there's a lot of staff time and costs to the taxpayers that could be saved if we have one bylaw. So, for example, we have, fewer than say 300 houses in areas A and B, right?
Yes,
It's very small.
it is.
And so it's not that unique that it can't be under the same sort of bylaw as everything else. In fact, areas A and B used to be under one shared zoning bylaw. They were separated I think that was probably a bad idea. And so this is a way to put everything under one bylaw. There's some minor differences, but generally speaking, they can be brought together. Doesn't mean that any one land use in area B is going to change. It can still live under that same parent bylaw. It's just that it creates a lot more efficiencies. For the
So we could have one
organization.
overarching bylaw and then each area can be like a subset, because I could sort of live with that, but I can't live with pretending that they're all gonna be the same under the same bylaw.
They're all gonna be under the same bylaw, but so for example, if there is an area B ag zone.
Yes,
That's significantly different than other ag zones, which it really shouldn't be that different, but let's say.
it is.
Um,
Yeah,
there might be some minor differences, well, then it would be the ag one zone.
okay,
And Squamish, Upper Squamish Valley might be the ag 2 zone. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so it creates just a whole lot of efficiency.
Unique properties remain in those areas, but one legislative process to make when it's something that applies everywhere. Parking regulations aren't going to all of a sudden be homogeneous across the zone.
Yeah, but parking regulations for a single family house in area B are pretty much the same as in area C or D. So they can live under the same bylaw.
no, I don't think so, but that's okay, because we can just disagree on that, and I'm just happy there's a red dot on that one. So that's the end of my comment.
Yeah, other regional districts have done similar projects. And it's created a lot of efficiency.
We'll see it in practice.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone on this topic? Director Herford, go ahead.
Oh, just briefly, how on this topic, what is the next step and when should the board expect to engage with that? I know it's not in this meeting.
Sorry, for which?
For that bylaw project.
Oh,
Yeah, once
Roughly.
we get further into the project, we're having a bit of a staff change coming up in December because planner Mackay is taking a maternity leave, so we'll be onboarding more staff, and so there'll be some time delays associated with that, but hopefully in 2026 or 2027, we'll be able to come back with a report sort of outlining the work program for that.
okay, thank you. And Director Demare?
Yeah, I was gonna ask a very similar question. Prior to the staff putting a lot of time and effort into it, what is that timeline on the board saying, yeah, go for it or not go for it? To do a lot of work on it, if the board doesn't agree to it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I believe that there's been a tacit approval of this through approval of budgets, et cetera. The board has not seen a work program for this. But yeah, I think that would be the place for the board to speak to any concerns or fears that they have about this. But I think I can assure you, there's really nothing to be fearful of. This is really.
Is a permission to
Yeah,
proceed.
I've had a lot of comments about from constituents that area A is rural remote. And we're not like any municipality or area D and the list goes on, and that they like to see more rural remote parts of these bylaws that we have. That's just a comment that I'm receiving. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just without getting into it too much, can I clarify that basically the idea here is that you can have different rules for different areas in one bylaw or split into 4. We just want to put them into one. It doesn't stop us from having different rules for different areas. It's just, and obviously there's efficiencies, the more consistency, but having all this under one bylaw doesn't take the ability away to have different considerations in different locations.
Correct.
Okay, so we will see a permission to proceed at some point, and we'll have this fulsome discussion at that time before this goes ahead. Go ahead.
I think it would be good to have a motion for permission to proceed so that that can
So that
Go
it
ahead with that.
formalizes the,
formalize it. Yeah,
Okay.
motion for person, and just I wanted to reiterate, because that was one of the questions, was that you can still be different and under the same bylaw.
and we'd like to flesh that out. Go ahead.
To clarify, a motion to proceed with, to start this process?
A motion.
Before it comes to us
Before it
in a
comes-
new draft,
Okay.
it would come first as a go or no
Motion
go.
to proceed.
Okay.
So
Oh,
then,
yeah, I'd be happy to make that motion.
Okay.
Yep.
Director Burge Jones, seconded by Director Huffel. Comments?
What's the motion?
The motion is that we ask staff when they're ready to start this project, that they bring a preliminary discussion to the board to go or no go. Probably not the language that would be reflected in a minute.
Permission to proceed.
Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on the whole report, are there any other questions about the Q3 strategy plan? Go ahead.
Just one more couple comments, just I don't think that this is an unmanageable amount, because some of these are simply, a letter that's been written or that's going to be written, and it's great to see it in here, but it doesn't reflect a lot of work coming up. And I also think it would be valuable to see this more than twice a year. I think maybe between 4 and 2, we could compromise on seeing it 3 times a year. I'd like to anyway.
Is there a middle ground? Would it make sense? 'Cause the whole point is creating the package of work 4 times a year. But we go through a budget process, which is sort of this whole thing really unpacked at budget time. So eliminating the
That one.
4th quarter makes sense. And I think, did you want to speak to it?
I will comment that we're asking to do it twice a year in order to be more efficient and effective in our work. And if the board would like to extend it, we're also here.
Yeah.
We are requesting improvements to this report and adding outstanding backlog of items, and that also
Right.
will give space to do that.
Chris?
Well, I was just gonna say, maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought we were on a quarterly program for this and we recently gave the direction to do it every 6 months and to try that for a bit.
I was on something else.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm remembering that too, and that was on, that was,
That was
Finance.
financials.
yeah.
The financial reporting,
Go ahead.
I'll move that we go to every 6 months.
Biannually.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Director Pettengill, any comments? Go ahead.
I was between, but I think your point about just how extensive the budget process is compelling. And so I think going to 2 allows space for the staff to do a better job and a job that they're more enthusiastic about, which I think is something we should support when that kind of comes from our team saying we can do this better. I'm certainly supportive.
And I would also, thank you for that comment. I would also encourage that we as board members, keep this list either on your desk or in your mind. And if there's something you're interested in between reports, bring it to one of our one-on-ones. And I'm like totally happy to get that information without it being a full report.
right?
Yeah, let's try it and
Sure.
see if we can make it work. All right, with that, I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And a motion to receive the report.
So
Moved by Director Birchstone, seconded by Director Pettengill. All in favor, any opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we have an information report regarding the authority of the Electrical Area Directors Committee. Have Allison Twist and Paul Hodges. Those yours.
Hello, my name is Allison Twitz, Senior Policy Analyst with the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. This is an information report in follow-up to the June 25th, 2025 meeting where the board resolved that staff bring back a report to a future committee of the whole meeting outlining the regional district's funding sources, delegated authorities, and policies that delegate responsibility. We're bringing this report forward today for your review. The report summarizes the Local Government Act legislation sections that give the board powers to appoint and delegate authority. Also authority, of the Electoral Area Directors Committee as delegated by the board through bylaws, and board policies that require Electoral Area Director Committee recommendations to the board for board approval. In addition, the report outlines areas where there has been an informal evolution of general operating practices developed over the years, likely for efficiency and convenience reasons, requiring staff to seek out new grants and budget processes for local area budgets where electoral area directors may be involved in the service. Each relevant local area budget is listed on the back of the attachment. Staff are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Questions?
speaking of informal evolution, under the policy that's referenced there under select funds delegation right at the beginning on page 73, it still reflects $500 as the amount of appreciation funds, the annual amount, but I think we've sort of got a working, we did approve it to be up to 1,000 on an annual basis. So that was just one change I noticed.
Can I ask a clarification?
Yeah.
Is that in the physical policy that's linked here?
It is.
Okay.
It is. I actually
Well, I'm
read
sure
them.
that we have
I don't think the policy has been updated, but there was a resolution that was passed to increase it from 500 to 1,000, and that 5,000, or the 1,000 amount is reflected in all of the select fund
is.
reports that I bring.
It is, yeah.
So we just need to update that policy, so I can get that down on my to-do list.
In another linked policy, it says that, and this is on page 74, the land use application to electoral area director. And I see that on the land use applications, the EAB director's comments are required to be part of the process. The same. That's very good. I haven't had the opportunity, but
Isn't that how you've been doing it? You
yeah.
have a conversation with Suzanne prior to the budget? So-
Yes, I didn't realize that was sort of part of a policy, but that's really good. That is what we do.
For land use, not us.
No budget. Oh, not budget, sorry,
Land use, yeah.
sorry. I read that too.
Yeah, no, yeah, and the budget is, we also do that.
Yes.
But we do it, it's true, it's just discussed, we do that individually with Suzanne. She has trouble setting up those times with us. We get it done, it's extremely helpful, but there's a comment that it probably should be more of a public process. I mean, I'm okay either way. The decisions are there for the public for sure.
What would you say would be a more public but not onerous way of doing that from your perspective as?
The reason we've been doing those kind of informal preliminary discussions offline is that there are so many
Yeah,
like electoral area service budgets
Yeah.
that it would put a heavy burden on an EAD meeting to go
Right.
through all those at like a board table. So those have kind of happened offline. It's kind of been flagged that that's something that maybe should be more public. I don't think we have a great solution other than bringing them all to the EAD. But I would be open to, I think that's why we're bringing this to the board today, is to kind of have that discussion and see if that's something that we need to improve on. And yeah, maybe Heather can speak to that as well.
I would like to say some of the feedback is that during those one-on-one sessions, really considerate decisions are being made and changes are being made at the direction of the EAD of one director, and surfacing that to the public will actually help better with communication and avoid some confusion of how did we get here. And so that, and then the con is why it's being done in the first place was for efficiencies. I think that the EAD meetings have space for it during the budget process.
Yeah.
They've been more efficient and they're ending early, so there could be space for it during the EADs.
How long would one of those conversations be? An hour?
Exactly.
So I'm curious if there's a space for using some kind of dictation that could then be summarized so that you don't have to keep notes or write a report. But if you had that meeting sort of recorded, dictated, and then summarized so that that could become a really simple report out to the community so that you can have that kind of back and forth with staff, but those sentiments are captured in a way that reflects your intention, I think would be interesting. Go ahead.
We're exploring AI policies right now when it comes to dictation, but we're not there. And there's some strict privacy rules when it comes to the hosting and how that information is then used as a motherboard for all other decisions worldwide. At this point, it would add more work. So if we're trying to save time, that would add more time because we couldn't use tools in front of us for it. And we'd be adding another resource for the public to, you can watch a meeting, you can do this, oh, you can also read these summarized notes of what this one-on-one meeting was.
Yeah.
And that's just the drawback on that solution, is adding that.
I hear you. I also attended a session at UBCM about the use of AI in local government, and it sounds like there are ways, and I'm not suggesting that
We're working on
yeah. So, okay, great. Go ahead, Director Stoner.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, appreciate you bringing this to us. There's a number of specific bylaws, and I'm just unclear if you want like specific feedback on the individual bylaws, if this is kind of like a higher level discussion around some of the delegated authorities. But there are definitely some elements in the bylaw to delegate the electoral area directors committee that I also think are outdated. And so I don't know if that just comes back for review at a later date or if that's today.
How would you like to do that?
This was brought to a committee of the whole for a fulsome discussion. And I am answering on behalf of Ms. Twist because she wasn't here when that happened. This was brought to the committee of the whole for a fulsome discussion because there needed one place of clarity on where that delegated authority, what is policy, how is that happening? So we're open to the desire of the board.
Yeah,
Okay.
interesting. Go ahead.
So I think in addition to Vivian's comments, like a discussion around that appreciation fund, I recognize that there may have been a motion at the EAD to increase that amount.
Right.
It causes me a little bit of hesitation to do so as it has been written here. But also in the EAD committee bylaw, Section 6 says the chair of the EAD and the chief administrative officer or either of them is authorized to execute any agreements or financial instruments on behalf of the regional district. Specifically in scope 1 of that bylaw. But I don't know if we actually provide the chair the authority to go into contracts for select funds, do we?
Right, traditionally, no. Is that specific to select funds or specific to EOC?
Specific to select funds.
Point out the page that you're on, please.
Yeah, so I'm in the bylaw number 1274, 2013, a bylaw to delegate the electoral area directors committee. That's section 6. That says the chair has the authority to execute any agreements or financial instruments on behalf of the regional district related to matters section 1 in this bylaw, which includes the list of select funds.
Can't be legal, can it?
I don't think so.
Like through practice.
Unless I'm reading it wrong.
Any agreement or contract would normally go through the CAO, like I have not myself gone to the
Yeah.
EAD chair for that.
So I suspect that, like, I think what I'm trying to get at is like this bylaw to me has some flags in it.
Yeah.
That it should probably be updated and reviewed. And there's already a long list of other bylaws that we are updating and reviewing, so maybe we just add it to the list.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't wanna see here is the elected area directors were elected to manage the finances of their electoral area constituents. And in the time that I've been here 11 years, I think we've done a really good job. And I see now from certain members of the board that are wanting to change this and take that authority away from the elected area directors who are actually elected to this board. I don't agree with it at all. I think in my mind, we should leave the whole process exactly the way it is because it works fine. Hasn't been any problems whatsoever. And because some directors don't like it, or they would like to get more input or say into how that money is directed or spent, I totally disagree with that. So I want that recorded that.
Yeah.
I just say leave it alone.
Yeah. Let's keep this at a level of policy. This isn't, I don't want to get into a fight. I do hear the area directors every month go through the process of the select funds. I also hear from those that don't attend those meetings that they don't have insight into why those decisions are being made. What we're hoping today is to find a way to have a middle ground so that the decisions that are being recommended from the area directors committee to the board for adoption or for support are being explained in a way. And it often is explained in the minutes of the electoral area directors committee minutes. Or those meetings are live and they're also recorded and retained. And so I do caution, this is not, again, an opportunity about those elected, those appointed to the board and whose fiduciary responsibility is. We all understand, we are all financially responsible for the budget of this organization. And any decision that's being made by the board is being made by the board at consensus, not by one individual. And so I just want to put that on the table. I think we can have a discussion, but let's keep it at that level. I'm going to go to you and then I'm going to come back to Director Stoner.
Yeah, and I guess trying to walk that line, for me, I think there are a few other pieces of discussion where electoral area directors don't necessarily feel the resourcing to do some of what needs to be done is possible with the way we've arranged our budgets and I think there is that for other directors that, you know, are we living up to our fiduciary responsibility? And so there's a few things where it seems that every time we come, whether it's select funds or PILT funds, we end up trying to, at a little micro fund level, have this sort of proxy discussion about these other things that we haven't resolved. And in my mind, this was sort of understanding that proxy, like how do we make sure EADs are properly resourced, have a level of autonomy we're comfortable with, there's a level of oversight, and that big picture discussion would be something we would do at the Policy and Governance Committee. And then we could go back and say, well, do we need to delegate more authority for these funds or less, or what does that look like? Do we need to add funding on top of these funds? But and so I guess I am I alone in this or do others share that? And then how do we have that discussion so we're not sort of having these sort of ad hoc debates about specific funds every time there's a specific funding or request from a specific fund, and it's really not about that. It's about this bigger thing that we've never quite resolved.
Director Stoner, and I have Director Herford. I'm good, thanks. Okay, Director Herford, go ahead.
Yeah, I just I didn't have a specific question. I just I found the report though really interesting, as we've heard about things that are over my time at this table that are or aren't delegated to the EAD, and this just really captures where we are, and I think fills some gaps. Now, whether it's appropriate or not, or even is capturing what is happening, and we hear that Director Mack's comments are not wanting to change. The policies that we have in place that we've delegated don't actually reflect what's happening there, as we've heard a couple examples of. So I'd just like to, this is really, for me, comes from a place of curiosity and how we got here, and wondering if there's a way that we can sort of communicate this in one spot, and maybe this is that. I will say that, could I get some clarification on the moving of the threshold, the financial threshold? And was that, someone else asked the question, I didn't quite get there. Was that, to me, that would need to happen at the board table to move the threshold of what we've delegated to any external or subset of the board. Can someone fill me in on what happened there? I'm not particularly concerned about the dollars and cents of it, but just for a good process.
Yeah, we've got an answer coming at you.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the motion. I believe it was recommended to the board and then accepted by the board, or recommended by the EAD committee and then accepted by the board. But if you can move on, and we'll find it in our software.
But thank you. In the meantime, on page 76, talking about land use applications to the electoral area director. And there's only been a couple in area B in both times. And it says, EA director may share referrals with nonprofits and partners for feedback. And I've certainly done that. The next sentence, EA directors do not send referrals to other government organizations such as First Nations. This is built into the process elsewhere throughout provincial and SLRD staff. So both times as it happened, I asked the Paglia Council, Tribal Council, if they had received referrals on those same land use applications. And they hadn't, and I conveyed that back to staff, and staff were pretty clear. That's not our job. That's up to the province to get that right and get it to the First Nations. But I wonder if we couldn't do a little better than that in our role.
Thank you. I agree with Director Birch Jones, and it's also going to be absorbed into the motion that happened yesterday regarding looking at the referral process.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. What?
One of my assumptions is that we have done things the way we have for a long time because we've dealt with them as they come to us, and it's a challenge in this way or that way, and so we've adjusted accordingly. I don't think we have capacity for it right now because we have so much going on, but I would think it would be so helpful for us to hear from staff about how they think the most effective way of doing all of this would be. I think we contributed an unbelievable amount of time that we could save and contribute to actually getting projects done, to processes that may not serve us in getting work done as quickly or as well as we might like. And so this is helpful for me. I would say, if I had any comments on it, the other feels to me like it could end up being incorporated into SLRD board policy if we did attach some to it. And certainly budget process area budgets seems to me to be one that is a board level decision that what's mentioned here, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, looks a lot like a number of sort of procedures that we've picked up over time and aren't necessarily directed by policy. The only policy that I see in budget process area is that it's presented to the board for final. Am I missing something?
Sure, I can speak to that, like. We do have to get our financial plan approved.
Yeah.
And that's under the LGA.
Yeah.
These preliminary discussions have just come through like practice and trying to be more efficient. But all budgets are reviewed by the board and approved by the board, but it's just that initial discussion with the EAs and kind of making sure that we're on the right track with the first draft. That's that discussion that's happening offline.
I feel like that we at some point should look at how we can be most effective in the use of our time. I was just trying to think through in a municipal context, the idea that each counselor is sitting down and is like directing how, it just sounds just unbelievably labor intensive. And so I think that we're probably not getting some other things done because we are doing some of these practice pieces that we've picked up over time.
So I'll go to Heather and then I'll come back to you.
I just want to respond to that for a moment because it was created to save time, but we are seeing an effect where it's taking up time because there's some examples in prior budgets where some very good decisions were made and the EAD director one-on-one directed staff to make changes that had that been public, it would have saved a lot of communications issues that came down the road. And that's one of the reasons why I would suggest trying it out this year to surf it up to EAD committee. Board always gets to see the final, and we are looking at simplifying our budget process as well and rolling some things up. So there could be economies of scale in that.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you're imagining it's sort of a bit of a pilot of it.
You know, what would it look like if we brought it all to the EADs collectively in an open meeting, had that discussion?
Yeah, that makes far better sense of the way I imagine local government operating. And I'd be far more comfortable with that that the committee is doing the work rather than individuals.
And they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an initial conversation. Go ahead.
I think one thing you made the comment about municipal, this isn't municipal. And like of the 4 directors are not like municipal councillors. We're for Area C, I am the elected representative on this board. So, I mean, it may not be the best situation, but it is what we've got and everybody's got. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. So I think that we just have to understand that the elected area directors have a certain amount of responsibility to their constituents. And to say, oh, well, we don't do it in a municipal setting, a municipal councillor doesn't do this or that. That's a totally different setup. And this is a totally different setup, as you well know. So I don't want to see, as we keep moving along here, that the elected area directors get marginalized more and more and more, because that's what's happening in the time that I've been here. You can shake your head and giggle all you want, Jack, but that's a fact.
Go ahead.
Certainly my goal is not to marginalize anyone around this table.
I would because you know that you know where I'm coming from in this. In the absence of an area director, for one reason or another, any constituent in Area C can call any person around this board, and any person around this board should be able to answer their question. They won't be able to answer it as well as you, but there is a desire amongst the people at this table to be able to say, yes, we decided on that. we made this decision because of, or we're considering this. And so it's not to take away the responsibilities of the area director. I have Director Demare.
Yeah, just on this topic on the budget process. I've been through a lot of them now. And out of it comes, how am I going to fund a water tax service that's got 42 properties on it? And the costs associated with the tax service, parcel tax, and the list goes on and on. Water service rates. And what comes out of it is I have to use Community Works Fund. I've got to use PILT funds to compensate for it. And that is the discussions I have with some of the services, not all of them, but with some of the services every year. And every year I put money in, extra money. Have to do it, or taxpayers are going to be upset, guaranteed. But we have been increasing slowly, and we need to continue that increasing slowly. But in the meantime, they're all old systems. Not so much on the trailer and sewer, that's a whole nother topic because of the major cost overruns that we've had. And I put hundreds of thousands of dollars into that one and continue to. So it's really important that if it has to be public, it'll go public. And that's fine with me. But in the meantime, as Director Mack says, we're the go-to people when it comes to that. Maybe we should have some of the municipal directors come and sit in so you're actually hear what goes on. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff at this point, or comments on the report that's here?
I have one more, just,
Sure.
I read the, going now back on page 74, the emergency program and disaster operations. And there's a line in there, the participants acting through the EAD committee may establish such subcommittees and working groups as deemed necessary to facilitate emergency preparedness response and recovery measures from the act. And of course, I immediately thought about the wildfire roundtable that for me is at risk because the Fraser Basin isn't going to be funded for that anymore. Is that an example? Is that something that's outdated? We haven't really used that. I see Director Phillips is online too. Is that a policy that needs to be updated? So that's like, okay.
Mark, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, certainly. Through the chair, I think since this was established, this bylaw was established in 2013 or 2009, the 2013 updated. There's been a lot of changes and there's been a lot of learnings across the SLRD, and the 2023 wildfire season provided a whole new learnings. And also it's important to note that in November 2023, the foundation for the emergency program in terms of the EDMA, New Emergency Disaster Act, has been updated. So there's a lot of pieces within there in terms of the role of the chair in declaring state of local emergencies, evacuations that need to be updated and reflected in that bylaw.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for this report. I thought it was really helpful and accurate. Thank you.
So for clarity, we will receive this report and then the updates are coming at future meetings that are required based on the feedback you've received today and legislative requirements.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful just to ensure that it stays on the work list and it's in the fuel, that it's not in our brains. A motion to bring to a future board meeting the select fund, a review of select fund report, because there are things that are outdated, not about removing any authority, just aligning with the legal legislation.
Yeah.
The same for the EOC.
Yeah.
One. And as well, some support on a decision to bring the budget discussions from to have those one-on-one discussions about budget as 4-on-1 at the EAD.
At the EAD. Okay,
But those are three suggested.
Do you want them,
resolutions.
let's do them separately. So a motion to receive the information report.
Yep.
Made by Director Birchstone, seconded by Director Stoner. Comments? Great report from everyone. I know that this was a lot of work. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Second motion is to direct staff to come back with a review of the select funds. What did you
So
say?
maybe we go to the policy committee. I'm trying to remember our terms of reference when it comes to policy committee, but do you think this lands in that? Cause it's
The
operational?
creation of the terms of reference is currently in works. That will be brought forward in December for consideration. So it would be up to the board if they would like to see those bylaws pass through the policy committee first before coming back to the board.
Okay. How do we formulate that into a motion that can be?
I think a discussion, would the board like it to go to the policy committee first or come straight here for review?
Looking at you, go ahead.
I think committee of the whole is a good spot for it.
I like that too.
And I'd like to suggest that the Local Government Act be very much a part of future discussions. It's all of the conversations that we have and share our opinions about this kind of stuff are clearly articulated in the Local Government Act. And so it seems very important to me that all of us have the Local Government Act, the legislation that tells us what we are and how we do things in front of us as we talk about this. So
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Committee of the select
I
funds.
know, but we haven't had that as part of the
The
conversation.
select funds review will come back to a committee of the whole at a future meeting.
Yes, last one is the EOC.
I'll get that motion.
Sorry.
Can I get that motion? Director Stoner, seconded by Director Crompton. Comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And the last one is
The EOC, that's the
the,
bylaw.
yeah, the EOC bylaw to be updated, to come back to a future meeting.
EL 1130.
That moved by Director Stoner, seconded by Director Crompton. Comment?
I just say to Director Stoner pointed that Local Government Act is the very first words of this report. I'm more hoping to say, let's center that in our conversations here. So when it comes to the table, I think it would be good that our conversation focus on that legislation. I'm not trying to critique the report.
Totally. And
Yeah.
further to that, I think that because it can be such an overwhelming document, I think we can use the slides in this case where we pull out the section of the Local Government Act and put it on a slide on the screen. As we're talking about it, it's up there for us and for the community, rather than just relying on being on the right page in the report. Can we do that? Let's take that offline, but I like the idea of using the technology that we've invested in to make it really clear. Okay. Did I have a mover for that?
Moved in second.
Yeah, great. I'll call a question. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Well done.
Keep busy. Moving along. It's almost 2:00. You know that I always try and get us out of here by 2:00. It's not gonna happen today. If anyone's dying to leave, let me know, but we still have work to do. All right, so we're at number 7. There are no director's reports to be considered. I do have one item of late business that we need to, that we don't need to, but I'd like to ask for. And I wanted to say it at the beginning, but then forgot. The Metro Vancouver Zero Waste Conference sounds really interesting and very relevant to our board. And I would like to ask if anyone at this board would like to go. We do have 2 staff members going, but I think that there'd be some benefit to one of us going. It's a 1 day, but there would be expenses related to mileage to getting there. And so I just wanted to put it out to, so first we need a vote on whether we can consider this as late business. And then we can have the discussion.
I think we should consider this as late business.
Okay, anyone else to second it? Thank you, Lori. Okay. Thoughts on what I've just said?
Call the question.
Oh, call the question, all in favor of the late business being added? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thoughts? I saw Armin's hand. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, just could you remind me the date? I had the similar.
November
Oh, that's
27th.
interesting. 27th. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thoughts? Jack?
I like it. I think if you can go, you should go. If you can't, then we should send someone else, but I like the idea of sending a.
I'm happy to go. I think it sounds fascinating. But I want to give the opportunity if anyone else wants to go more than me.
I'll nominate Mike.
Yeah.
Poor guy's having a root canal.
know.
Really interesting topic. There is, for the people who don't want to travel, there is a virtual only registration cost that's much lower than
Okay,
if you're far away and you want to.
okay.
So
You want to do that?
I get to be in Royal Inland all day
Okay.
that day, so thanks so much. But I'm super interested, but I kind of think Squamish is more the community that's more impacted by there's some overlap there, right, between the two systems. So,
Yeah. Chris, did you have your hand up?
No, I took it down.
Okay. Armin, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was gonna talk to the team at the district and see what that looks like. So I might actually attend, but if I decide to, I'll do it through my district funding. So for this conversation, I'm not ready to commit to that, but yeah, Squamish is likely there.
Okay, so I'll go if you all support me going.
So
But
moved.
I really want to make sure that everyone thinks it's a good use of my time.
totally.
Okay. So I have it moved and I have it seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. And that motion is obviously to cover the expenses for me to travel, which otherwise wouldn't be covered. Okay, with that, let's.
Point of order,
Go
are
ahead.
we in
We're still
committee of the
committee of the
whole?
whole. So this is a recommendation to the board to be a recommendation from the committee of the whole on the next
That's where I
agenda.
start using it.
Did I nail that?
You did.
Let's adjourn this committee of the whole.
Indeed.
Motion seconded. All in favor, any opposed, motion carries. Does anyone need a break? Bathroom break, comfort break, stretch your hips.
Keep us move around if we want to.
Yeah, great. All right, let's reopen the meeting. The board meeting, and we nailed the whole agenda yesterday. Isn't that exciting? So we're now on page 7 of 405, which is number 15, recommendations from the committee of the whole. And we had a couple.
We have a number of recommendations, yeah.
Okay.
Would you like me to go through them one by one?
Sure.
The first one being that staff bring forward a report to a future meeting on the SLRD zoning bylaw consolidation project.
Yeah.
And that the strategic plan progress report be brought forward to the board on a biannual basis. And that staff bring forward a review of the select funds bylaw 1274 to a future committee of the whole meeting. And that staff bring forward a review of the emergency program and disaster operations bylaw 1130 to a future committee of the whole meeting. And that the expenses associated with Chair Ford's attendance at the Metro Vancouver Waste Management Conference on November 27th be reimbursed.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. Right, so with that, I need a motion to accept the recommendations from the committee of the whole. Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Pettengill. Comments? Go ahead.
Just on the last item, and maybe it's to refer to our budget process, but I'd be interested in hearing. For me, it's counterintuitive that for something like the solid, like this waste, I already forgot the title, but but that the chair has to ask us for funding to attend this, that there isn't a fund that we are just able to do this.
It's being contemplated in the remediation bylaw, but currently that bylaw has lots of gaps, and the gaps are being identified all the time.
Okay,
Which is-
if we're doing that piece, that's good
Yeah.
that we're doing, okay.
Yeah, because it's not remuneration either, like it shouldn't be reflected as a cost, as a Sophie. You know, it puts us at a disadvantage. All right, thank you for that comment. I will call the question. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Could I ask that someone please move that we go into closed? Moved by Director Pettengill, second by Director Stoner. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay,